Kuzampo, you're watching Bhutan This Week with me, Kulaute Guragai. Our top stories this week. PHPA1 employees to be let go demand reassessment of downsize list. Stock exchange companies record unclaimed dividends worth 80 million Newton. Unmonitored dredging works causing frequent floods in Norbogong, Samtsi. The Punatsangchu Hydroelectric Project Authority's once recent decision to downsize its manpower and the action thereof is now backfiring. Employees who are asked to leave the project are accusing the management of unfair practices. They claim that the management has neither followed their own circular nor the report by the Independent External Committee. They said they will report the matter to the ACC if the management fails to reassess the retrenchment.
PHPA1 decided to lay off about 300 employees following an independent study by an external committee. However, the number decreased to 275 employees and they were asked to leave the project by the end of this month. There was disgruntlement among those asked to leave. While this is expected since no one would love to lose their livelihoods, they say the procedure was flawed and not done transparently. Talking to BBS, they requested anonymity fearing repercussions.
They've retained about 25 people. We want to know on what basis these people were retained. All the decisions were made within themselves. When they first planned to do this, they called the external committee comprising of officials from the Labour Ministry and the DGPC and made them stay there for 2 months and made the report. And now that it's been done, they're not even following the report.
They claim that they will be happy to leave the project so long as the retrenchment process was done fairly. As per the circular issued by the PHPA1 last month, there were 4 criteria in the orders whereby an employee would be retrenched. The criteria were to lay off employees first with disciplinary issues, followed by poor job performance ratings, those who joined the project later, and younger employees. But they said this was not followed.
Actually, we really don't mind about the retrenchment. But then what has happened with our project is, I think people, the committee who has decided, they are confused themselves, I think, because the selection has not gone fairly. People, those who need to be retrenched have been retained, and people, those who has to be retained, were retrenched. In the security division, people, those who have got extraordinary capability, those who have been selected, oh, you are good, and sent for rescue and research training in India, he's out. And people, those who are involved in theft cases, they are in, they are retained. Those who have been served with civil warnings by their HOD, they are in.
As per the Independent External Committee's report, 293 employees can be spared at various levels and categories. It was also recommended to initiate the layoff in a phased manner for over a period of 1 year with effect from 1st July this year in order to mitigate the impact of high unemployment. They now want the chairman, who is currently the Economic Affairs Minister, to look into the case and reassess the retrenchment list. They are also suggesting inviting an external committee and reviewing the retained employees. Meanwhile, the management of PHPA1 refused to give BBS an on-camera interview but said the retrenchment process was done fairly. Sam Tendolkar, BBS News.
The Royal Civil Service Commission withheld the promotions of 53 civil servants serving in Pemagozil. This happened after the district's Human Resource Office failed to submit the documents of those civil servants in the RCSC's GEOC electronic system before the deadline.
The civil servants, the majority of whom are teachers in various schools of the district, were due for promotion in July. BBS learned that all 53 of them had submitted the required documents by 20th May. But the HR office delayed submitting the documents on the RCSC's online system. As per a source, the Human Resource Officer was engaged in virtual training for the assistant administrative officers of the district. The Human Resource Division and other sector heads of the district had appealed to the RCSC to reconsider the decision. However, the RCSC said it received the appeal only on 5th July. Citing the Bhutan Civil Service Rules and Regulations 2018, the Commission said for those due for promotion in July, the agencies should complete the due process by 15th June and insert all the approved promotions in the Commission's online system by 25th June. According to the Commission, it is mandated to ensure that uniform rules prevail throughout the civil service, be it recruitment, appointment, staffing, training, transfers, and promotion, among others. The Commission also stated that the authorities responsible shall be accountable for administrative actions. In the current case, the Commission has imposed administrative sanctions on the Human Resource Committee members, ranging from reprimands to major penalties. The RCSC decided to withhold the increment of the district's HR officer and the officiating Zongda for 3 years. For Teledoji in Pemagozil, Sunam Pem for BBS News.
To ensure the country has uninterrupted supply of energy for all times to come, the Department of Renewable Energy is exploring the implementation of renewable energy technologies. The department is particularly assessing the potential to install rooftop solar energy system on a pilot basis. It is found that Bhutan has the potential to generate 12 gigawatt of solar energy. According to the department, in Bhutan, a gigawatt of energy is enough to power 330,000 households.
Rooftop solar power system is an alternative for energy self-sufficiency in the long run. Currently, as a part of pilot project, the department is installing rooftop solar power system in about 300 rural households of Tagana, Pemagozil and Hunse. Rooftop solar power system has electricity generating solar panels mounted on the rooftop of a building.
On average, we have our total irradiance of more than 2,000 kilowatt hour per meter square per year. However, if you really see into the global average is less than 2,000 kilowatt hour per meter square per year. And looking at that context, Bhutan is actually blessed with good solar irradiance, and we can harness lots of solar energies.
Moreover, it is cost effective and durable.
Solar technology is economically getting viable. The other advantages could be as simple as the lead construction time. It doesn't take much time to construct the solar technologies, and there are no geological complications involved. The technology is also less complicated. Moreover, the economic life of solar technology, especially if you look into the solar panels, it goes beyond 25 years.
According to the department, exploring such energy-efficient technology is important as the current energy source, hydropower, which is solely dependent on glaciers-fed rivers, is becoming highly volatile and erratic due to climate change. The department also plans to adopt the solar power system in the areas of transport and industry sectors. The department presented this during a workshop in Paro recently. For Namgyewangchuk in Paro, Kilidim, BBS News.
All buildings owners in Thimphu City have been ordered to paint their roofs red and green by the end of the year or pay a hefty fine. The decision, according to the Thomde, is for the city's aesthetics and for environmental reasons. Meanwhile, this arrangement has not gone well with the residents.
The Thomde has given till the end of December to complete the roof paintings. All residential and commercial buildings in the city will need to have the roofs painted green, while government and institutional buildings should have red roofs. Failure to do so will be penalized with a fine of 50,000 Yutam, the Thomde stated through a notification on 10th August. The notice also mentions that the decision on the roof paint colors was decided and notified in October of last year, but inspections could not be carried out due to the COVID situation.
We tried to get more details from Thomde office and we were told to follow their media protocols, which is to send them the question through email. We did that and we were told it was for two purposes. The first one is to make the city more beautiful and the second one is due to environmental reasons. They said the heat reflected from the roofs have direct impact on the environment.
Meanwhile, the people are not very keen with the Thomde's notice. As soon as the notification was posted on the Thomde's Facebook page, it became flooded with the comments criticizing the decision. One person said it was unnecessary and that the Thomde should instead focus on improving water supply and other amenities in the city. Another said the focus should be given on more pressing issues such as cleanliness and sewage. One commenter said it would cost a huge amount of money. An environmentalist who asked not to be named said painting the roofs with any color will not have any benefit or impact on the environment. Pemagozil, BBS News.
From high mountains to low valleys in the country, there is no place where man has set foot that is without plastic waste. The situation is as bad as, if not worse than, when the country first moved to ban the use of plastics more than 2 decades ago. The ineffective ban was reinforced time and again, with the last one initiated in 2019. But it has failed every time. Today, plastic is widely used and plastic waste is overwhelming the country's effort to preserve the environment.
The Mimilaka landfill in Thimphu is like a painting gone wrong. With colorful plastic objects strewn all over the place, the stench can be felt just by looking at the mess the city made. Where does all this plastic come from? The Centenary Farmers Market in the capital is one such production house of plastic waste. The CFM is as good as covered in plastic. From fruits to cereals, everything is packaged in plastic. According to the vendors, most people visiting the CFM come without any carry bags to buy essentials. They said if they don't provide them with plastic bags, they lose customers.
Tana picture ni bero chusho di gobe rolo ke ni bero chusho keji tosum chi babon la luchi di keji kon baruge ni gobe se de chome ta keji kon lu tinga chana ni mindunya chusho di nyodo namsim gome singa chege ke domi tedre tosum chi babe golen ten hu chi chenra chongobe ni me ba chinga cha mongo se memba ba me tweroge
te hema be chin ani jungi kachilo pechu zum tinabe de wala ani gidi ngachi chumde as jiwe be mola kiji sumji de chilup chira de pek jumela de mi disugi complain be delin customer mumela sunyo mela dele hon disugi na thipu mi se kara mo sar sunyo megale kara gi laptum me mela hinra ba me wala.
Moreover, they said plastics help them keep their goods fresh, especially cereals like puffed rice.
The garbage trucks do about 3 trips to Mimilaka from here every day. Most of the wastes are cotton boxes and plastics.
Some people who preferred to remain anonymous say the ineffective ban on plastic has only resulted in its high cost. The price was 150 Newton a kilogram before the Commission reinforced the ban some 3 years ago. It has now reached 250 Newton. According to the National Environment Commission, everyone can contribute to making the plastic ban successful by refusing plastic carry bags from shops. This, the Commission says, can be done by carrying shopping bags from home.
The shopkeepers feel that it's their duty to provide something. And since we have shortage of inspectors, we've actually not been able to really enforce it very strictly. But this is also coming in this waste flagship program, where we're developing alternatives. India is also banning these. Over 130 countries have banned plastics. So for us, it's going to be easy.
The waste flagship program is timely, especially when the roads, drains and rivers in the country have started feeling the weight of plastic pollution. The impact is even felt by the trees that adorn the country ever since plastics started replacing flowers and fruits on the trees. The problem is expected to go away only if everyone embraces it as they do with their household issues. For Karma Wangdi, Sonampem for BBS News.
The number of people investing in stocks and shares in Bhutan is growing. But what is also growing with this is the number of unclaimed dividends. Starting from 1993 to date, unclaimed dividend worth almost 80 million yutam from Bhutan's 16 stock exchange companies are still lying with the companies. An unclaimed dividend is recorded when a shareholder fails to claim an already paid dividend.
Unlike stock markets elsewhere in the world, the stock market here is visibly calm. I'm here at the office of the Royal Securities Exchange of Bhutan, the only stock market in the country. The huge number of unclaimed dividends, according to the RSCB, is due to the investors' lack of responsibility to validate and track their dividends, reflecting poor financial literacy and personal finances among Bhutanese. Today, there are 19 listed companies with the RSCB. Of the 19, 16 companies have recorded unclaimed dividends of almost 80 million yutam. Druk Punjab National Bank has recorded the highest unclaimed funds of more than 12 million yutam. It is followed by Bhutan Insurance Limited and Tashi Bank.
Technically, prior to 2016, our data were a little, loose in the sense that we're not able to get the right data because our stock exchange started in 1993. Somewhere in 2000, early 2000, even the identity card numbers got changed. So the records which were previously in the old, which were pinned by the old identity card numbers, are now no longer relevant.
Dividends also become unclaimed for reasons such as heirs being unaware of their inheritance and outdated personal information like CID numbers and bank accounts. However, the RSCB says every person who has come to the capital market and invested money is eligible for dividends as and when due. The office said there is no law specifying the expiry of such funds as long as they can prove their ownership of the investment as of now. The RSCB is also in talks with the regulatory authorities to establish Investor Protection Fund where all the unclaimed dividends will be saved there rather than with the company.
Many countries have something called Investor Protection Fund, whereby all unclaimed funds are kept with that, bundled up into that fund, and it's made into an investment. They cannot touch the principal, but the proceeds from income from that fund are used in financial literacy programs as well as to reach out to those investors who are not aware of that they have unclaimed funds with the companies.
While the RSCB says it is not much of a concern regarding the unclaimed dividends given the worth of the stock market, it's not fair to the investors who are also a part of the company from which they bought the shares. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
Local leaders in Bhutan want the district livestock sector to provide additional staff and adequate livestock medicine in all the kiosks of the district. They say that lack of a lab technician and support staff is affecting the productivity of the district, which is largely dependent on the livestock sector for livelihood. The issue was raised during the recent Dzongkhag Tsogdu.
Chekor Gup, who raised the issue in the Dzongkhag Tsogdu, said that most farmers could not avail themselves of artificial insemination service as the only staff who could administer the insemination was on leave.
A lab technician is very important for a district like Bumthang that is heavily reliant on the livestock sector. We are in such a time that some youth are struggling to find job, but most service providers are facing inadequacy in staff. We think it's going to be some time before all these falls into place in the system. But we still feel that a lab technician is necessary for a place like Bumthang.
The motion was also supported by local leaders of other geogs in Bumthang.
If a cow dies due to a complication during delivery, this would cost the owner at least 60,000 yutam. The government should take this into consideration.
The Dzongkhag livestock officer said, despite proposing for additional staff and budget, the livestock sector is allocated one of the least budget proportions among all the sectors every year. He also said, as the livestock sector demands its officials to personally be present on site for medication and treatment of animals, it is difficult to provide services on time due to staff shortage. Currently, there are only 10 staff in the livestock sector in Bhutan. There are at least 10,000 domestic animals that need the livestock sector's services in Bhutan alone. The livestock officer also said he proposed for procurement of utility bikes for livestock officials for outreach purposes in the past, but it was not approved during the budgetary meetings. The Zongkok Sogdo decided to propose to the Agriculture and Forest Ministry for additional manpower in the livestock sector for Bhutan. The district has almost 70% cattle of improved breed according to the livestock sector. These animals need extra medical care due to their susceptibility to illnesses. Bhutan had around 15 livestock staff until 2008 before the Regional Livestock Development Center was moved to Shamgang. For Kipchu in Bhutan, Pupki, PBS News.
It's good news for landowners residing on the outskirts of the town area. Until now, people owning land within 2 kilometers of the Thomde boundary were not eligible for rural subsidized timber. The restriction has now been lifted for inherited lands, according to forest officials who shared the news during the recent Zongkok Tsogdu.
Excavation works were completed last year to construct a 2-storied traditional house. 65-year-old Pelki wanted to construct a house for one of his daughters and her family. However, he could not start the works. He was ineligible for rural subsidized timber as his land fell within the 2-kilometer radius.
We are located near the town, but we don't have any privileges. It would be okay if we had some, but we don't. If I had the permit, I would have completed the construction by now.
Pelki is one of several families living near Kurutha who had to put off their construction plans due to the restriction.
We wanted to apply for rural subsidized timber since 2019, but we were told that we will not get the permit since our area falls within the 2-kilometer radius. Otherwise, I had actually planned to complete it by 2019.
In Punakha, the 3 gearworks of Guma, Zomi and Limukha were affected by this regulation. The issue was discussed during the recent DT. According to the Gumagap, letters requesting permits for rural subsidized timber are piling up in his office.
Although our people reside near the town, they have to follow all the rules as that of other villages. But when it comes to entitlements, our people do not get the same entitlement of what rural people get. All this is very inconvenient for our people.
However, a forestry official said this rule has now been revised.
From this year on, the rules have been changed. You're eligible for rural subsidized timber, even if your land is within the 2-kilometer radius, provided that it is inherited.
People will be given permits if the land is inherited, but you will be ineligible if it is newly purchased. The rules have been changed temporarily for now.
As per the Forest and Nature Conservation Rules and Regulations, a household is entitled to 18 logs or thrashing for the construction of a 2-storied house. A person can get 9 logs for a 1-storied structure and 3 for renovations. For Changadoji in Punakha, Sringzam, PBS News.
Fears of flood loom over many villages located along the Daina and Dipu rivers in Samsi today. Besides losing a few lands to a flood last year, residents of Kissa and Kissaling villages still live in constant fear of losing their homes to flood or erosion, especially at this time of the year.
Despite the Gyok administration recently diverting the course of the river, villagers of Kisaling village still cannot afford peaceful sleep. Whenever it rains, residents worry about their lands and houses.
The river below our village has been causing numerous problems to us. We fear that it would not only wash away our lands and houses, but will also pose a severe threat to the central school.
There are constant floods here during the monsoon season. At times, it gives us a feeling that we can no longer stay here. Whenever there is a flood, most of us come out of our homes. We cannot do anything.
निस्केर जान्छ नि
A few villagers have even stopped cultivating paddy out of fear of losing their crops to floods.
Last year we had everything ready. We were about to cultivate paddy, but then the flood took away a few parts of our lands, so we stopped cultivating the crop. This year too, we have left the land uncultivated.
Many blame the poor monitoring and evaluation of the dredging works along the Daina and Depu River for the matter.
The river is posing a great threat to us. Many have come to solve the problems here, but no solution has been found so far. Those who came here have only took all the stones and further swelled the river.
The matter was also discussed during the recent Dzongkhag Tsokdu.
Since most of the dredging works are done at a different time, the course of the river changes now and then. Ultimately, it is the people residing along the river who are affected the most. It would be better if all dredging works are done at the same time.
When we ask about the dredging works and impact to people residing nearby the dredging areas, many say that the dredging work is not only damaging the sites allotted, but is also severely affecting areas close to the dredging sites, and we find it hard to charge or hold them liable for the damage caused.
Whether it is the government or a private individual doing the dredging works, I think they should all be made to sign an agreement and held liable to fix all the problems and damages caused by the dredging works.
The representative from the Department of Forest and Park Services said due to COVID-19, the office could not properly monitor and evaluate the dredging works in the last few years. The office, however, assured that henceforth strict monitoring and assessment works will be carried out in all the dredging areas. While no definite solution was found, the Dzongkhag Tsokdu directed its Monitoring and Evaluation Committee to carry out a detailed report on the matter and present it in the next session for further deliberation. For Pasang Doji in Samsi, Pemagozil, BBS News.
That is all we have for this week. Thank you for joining us.